What's up guys, Uncasual Gamer here, and today I'm back with part 4 of my Xbox 360 collection videos. Now I've not actually released a video for a long time on the channel, and that's just because I've been mega busy over the summer with work and all sorts of things like holidays and such. So the last video I think I actually shared on the channel was in May, and that was part 3 of my Xbox 360 collection. And in those first 3 parts we went through from kind of A. These are all in alphabetical order. If you've not watched episodes 1, 2 and 3, you can watch them somewhere up here or click the playlist down below and they're all in the collection playlist. What we're going to do in part 4 today is we're going to start at S on this last final part of the shelf, and we're going to go through the last, I think there's maybe like 47 games to go through, something like that. I'm not going to talk through every single game. What I'll do is we'll mention every game kind of very, very briefly, and then where there's highlights, games that mean something to me, games that I've kind of completed, games that maybe are worth more money, etc. Anything basically with something notable about it, we will talk about in more detail. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So as I mentioned, I think we ended the last video part 3 on Skate 3. And I think because I've added a few more games early on in the collection, and they've all been pushed along a little bit. So Skate 3 is now on this shelf. So what we'll do is we'll start from the one straight after Skate 3, which is Star Wars Lego The Complete Collection. Now this is not with the rest of the Lego games, and that's just because this actually doesn't have Lego on the spine, and I'm kind of going, when I alphabeticalize my games like this, I go on the spines. Obviously I want all the Lego games together because they look good, and this on the spine just literally is Star Wars The Complete Saga. Played this game, like, I can't actually remember how many Lego Star Wars games there have been across kind of all consoles since maybe the PS2 era. I'll have played this in some guys at some point, and me and my fiance recently completed the Xbox One, the new Skywalker Saga Lego Star Wars game. So yeah, I've played this. I absolutely love all the Lego games. You'll know in previous videos, if you've watched them, that I love the Lego games, and I'm also a Star Wars fan. So yeah, I will recommend this game. However, I can't actually remember playing this version of the game, at least not anytime recently. Moving on, we have got Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2, which is an absolutely brilliant game. I absolutely love the Star Wars Force Unleashed games. I've not got number 1 in the collection, strangely enough, but growing up, number 1 was one of my favourite games of all time. I absolutely loved that game. I remember for the first time actually playing the demo where you were just like holding the stormtroopers, using the Force and throwing off the side of bridges, etc. And number 2, I don't think it was out too long after number 1, kind of built on what the first one offered. But yeah, if you're into Star Wars, these 2 are really good games. Kind of similar to the more recent Jedi Survivor and Jedi... can't remember the second. Jedi... Can't remember the name of the second game, but the 2 Jedi games that I've played both of them on the Xbox Series X. But yeah, really good games. Then we have got the Sega Mega Drive Unlimited Collection, and if you're a retro gamer like me, this is just, there's not too much I can say about it in terms of the 360 version. It's got over 40 different Sega Mega Drive. It's obviously got, most of the staples on there, including, I think, like 5 or 6 different Sonic games. Streets of Rage, Shining Force, Golden Axe, Phantasy Star. And there are so many just traditional Mega Drive games on here. But yeah, great game. This is, I think, is £10 at CX at the moment. Keep an eye on this one, because I think this one will slowly start to creep up into the £15 and £20 over the next few months. So then moving on, we have got South Park, The Stick of Truth. This is one that I was going to include in a couple of my investment videos. So I think this being not one of the most kind of common games or common titles that people want to pick up for the 360 or people have played in the past for the 360, I think this will start to rise in value. It says £3.50 on it. That's why I picked it up for probably about a year ago. I think it's now up to £4 or £5. I've not actually played it, and people have commented on previous videos saying it was available on all the different consoles, not just Xbox 360, so it's not an exclusive. And I think it's meant to be half decent, but yeah, I'm not the biggest South Park fan in general, so it's not a game that I've been super excited to jump into. We've then got 2 of my favourite games of all time, probably 2 games that are in my top 10 games of all time across all platforms, and they are the Elder Scrolls Oblivion and the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. I don't know what I can say about these 2 games that's not already been said. They are absolute masterpieces of games. Oblivion, obviously being slightly older, came out right at the start, I think, of the 360 and PS3 generation. And then Skyrim, same generation, but towards the end, maybe I think it was like 5 or 6 years after Oblivion came out. Skyrim's been remastered and remade and whatever they call it now, reskinned on the Xbox One and the Series X. I recently 100%ed the Series X version. Yeah, both games are absolutely epic. And if you're picking up a 360 in 2024, then these are two games that you have to put in and play. And following on from that, we have got Elder Scrolls Shivering Isles, and this is an expansion pack for Oblivion, which we just talked about. You have to have the Oblivion disc or the Oblivion game digital or on disc to be able to play this as well, as it is an expansion. I didn't actually realise that this was available on disc. I thought it was always just a downloadable DLC. In fact, I think growing up I had the Game of the Year edition of Oblivion, so it came included on the disc along with Knights of the Nine, which was the other expansion. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool when I saw this in CEX as an expansion, so I thought I'll pick that up. I've not actually put into, I'm not sure how it works with Oblivion on one disc and this on the other. I don't know if you have to, because obviously back on the 360 era, most games you didn't have to install, you just plug in and play. So I'm not sure exactly how it works. Maybe it runs off like a Oblivion save file on the console or something. Probably something I should check out. Next up, we have got the two of the Saints Row games. I think there were 3 Saints Row games, maybe 4 actually, on the 360. This is number 1 and number 3. I have never been a fan of Saints Row, really. In fact, I can't say I've not been a fan of them. I've never really played them. I believe they're a bit like GTA, but a lot more wacky and a bit kind of more adulty, if that makes sense. In fact, I think the way I say it is that they like GTA games, but they take themselves a little bit less serious. GTA obviously has a lot of comedic value to it as well, but I think these especially go more down the comedy route as opposed to GTA. We have then got Terraria, which is a game that I have played very briefly a lot of years ago, and I think the best way to describe this is it is like Minecraft, but 2D. So that's how I describe it. If you like Minecraft, you probably will like this as well. And then into one of the greatest game franchises of all time, and that is Tomb Raider. Now, I think there were 4 or 5 Tomb Raider games on the 360, and they're all at a very, very reasonable price if you're looking to pick them up in 2024. I think only one of the collections, I think there's like a triple pack collection, which goes for a little bit more. But these two, first we've got Underworld, which was as part of like the original Tomb Raider games, and then we have Tomb Raider, which is the kind of like the reboot for the modern era of Tomb Raider. I think it changed whatever year this was, maybe like, I'm thinking like 2011 or something, remade Tomb Raider and brought it into the modern era. Much more like the Uncharted games now, the way they play. The character design changed quite a bit and the style changed as well. Both games I'd recommend, and I recommend picking up the Tomb Raider games that are available on the 362. Then got Tenchu Z, which is a ninja game. I love all these kind of Japanese ninja samurai games, and I went to Japan last year, and Ghost of Tsushima, obviously a much different game to Tenchu, but just that era, that world, I absolutely love. So yeah, Tenchu, I remember playing this when I was young. I remember playing the first Tenchu actually, I think it was on the PS1, and that was one of my favourite games of all growing up. I loved it, and Tenchu Z, a great game too, obviously with better graphics than those PS1 early versions. Lord of the Rings, Path of Middle-earth 2. This is somewhat of a cult classic, and if you watch my other videos, you know I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan. This is a strategy game, and if I'm being honest, this is miles better on the PC, or it was miles better on the PC. I tried playing this recently on the 360, and I just cannot play real-time strategy games on the 360 on a console with a controller. I think really this is suited to the PC much better, but it is an absolutely fantastic game, and I would recommend picking it up. If you've not got a PC, get on the 360, give it a go. It's a brilliant game, especially if you're into Middle-earth and Lord of the Rings. And we've then got the Tom Clancy, so some of the Tom Clancy games. Now, I feel like on the 360, Tom Clancy, like there were so many games, and into the Xbox One as well, and the PS4. I won't talk about these in too much detail. Most people have probably played, I'm guessing, a Tom Clancy game at some point, whether that be Rainbow Six Vegas here, Rainbow Six Vegas 2. We've got Splinter Cell as well. And I think in one of my earlier videos, I mentioned that The absolute quality of shooters, first-person shooters on this generation of gaming is quite insane, really. When you think about Call of Duty in its prime, Halo in its prime, Battlefield in its prime, and Gears of War, all on the 360 of this era. For me, those 4 franchises are what I played most, and I feel like I might get some hate in the comments for this, but I feel like the Tom Clancy games did not live up. I know they were a different style. I know they were more about kind of tactical shooters and single player, as opposed to Halo and Call of Duty, which were much more targeted to online play. They had great campaigns too, but they were more obviously intense, arcadey, whereas this is more tactical. But for me, they just overshadowed the Tom Clancy games, and for that reason, I never really got into them much. But let me know in the comments what your favourite first-person shooter series was on the 360 in this era. The next game, I've got nothing to say about, and that is Truth or Lies. As you can see, this was 50p in CEX, and I picked it up when I saw it. It's part of the collection. It looks garbage, it sounds garbage. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. If you have played it and it is good, then let me know in the comments, please. Tony Hawk Shred, not a game that I've played in particular, but I'm sure if you are a gamer in any guise of the word, you'll have grown up with Tony Hawk, Pro Skater 1 and 2. I think Pro Skater 8 is the game I played the most growing up on the 360. I've not got that in the collection at the moment. But yeah, Tony Hawk games, I mean, like with some of the other games we've mentioned today, absolutely brilliant games and a real staple of the modern era of gaming from kind of the noughties onwards. And if you've not watched the Tony Hawk documentary on Netflix, I would 100% recommend watching that. It actually talks quite a lot about how he got the initial deal, the video game deal, to get Pro Skater 1 and 2 running, and how he was offered like a multi-million-pound contract to be the face of those games and be the name of those games. So yeah, definitely worthwhile watching that. The next 2 games we're not going to talk about much. This is Terminator Salvation, which again I've not played, and Time Shift, again, which I've not played. I guess Terminator follows on from the film by the same name, and Time Shift kind of looks like a bit of a Halo copy just from the pictures on the back. Not sure if they're any good or if they're worth playing. Let me know down below. Then got Unreal Tournament U. I remember spending with my dad when I was younger absolutely hours playing Unreal Tournament on the PS2, and it looks almost identical game to this. I'm guessing this just follows on from that first game. Kind of like an arcade shooting. Lots of fun, lots of chaos. That's how I describe it, kind of chaotic. Moving on, we've got 3 sports games, and if you've watched my videos, you'll know I love my sport. I love me some FIFA, which is my guilty pleasure, but also I'll play kind of any sport game going. And we've got Vancouver 2010, which is one of the Winter Olympic Games. I used to, like another guilty pleasure growing up, used to love playing this. It's got all the kind of stuff from snowboarding and bobsleigh, tobogganing, skiing, ski jumps, all the usual winter sport. Pretty fun. I know that London 2012, which I've also got in the collection, the traditional Summer Olympic game, has risen in value massively recently because the Sidemen were playing it on stream. Hopefully they'll play this one, and this one will go up in value because I think this is worth like £1, £2 at the moment. Then got 2 UFC games. Again, not much I'll say about those games. Yeah, typical just UFC fighter games. I've got Undisputed 3 and Undisputed. Again, good fun if you've got a mate round and you want to have a fighting game. I prefer boxing games traditionally, but apart from the Fight Night games, which I think I've got one in the collection, there's not that many boxing games, and especially like on the modern consoles, there's barely any modern boxing games at all. UFC games are still being made, I know that, on the Series X and the PS5. Yeah, I prefer boxing games, but the UFC games are pretty fun too. Then got 2 Viva Pinata games, and I think Viva Pinata, weird games, I played these. My sister played them more, I think, growing up. They were kind of like became a staple of the 360, especially in those early days. I think Viva Pinata came bundled with Forza 2, and I've not actually got it. I'm sure there was a double pack with Forza and Viva Pinata when the 360 first launched, and I think Viva Pinata actually came bundled with a lot of 360. It was the arcade, I think it was called early on, or the core. And they really became a staple of the 360. So yeah, they're worth having in the collection. Whether you play them nowadays, I'm not sure. However, I'm going to say they're good games. I can't really slate them. They performed really well. I know they sold well, probably because they were bundled in. But the spines also with these 2, I think, look fantastic. They really stand out on the shelves. If you're a collector, I recommend picking these up for that reason alone, if not to play them. Moving on to WWE, and this is getting towards the end of this shelf now. We've got 5 WWE games. I won't talk about them all. What I'll do is I'll pick out my favourite, which is WWE All-Stars. Kind of like FIFA Street of the WWE video game range, I guess. Kind of like really animated characters, over the top, but lots of fun. Takes itself less serious. It doesn't try to be a simulation, which I think works really well for it. And it's got all of the WWE superstars from past and from present. So you can have Hulk Hogan, and you can have John Cena, Kofi Kingston on the front there, etc. Yeah, the Rock. So yeah, I think this one, out of them all, I would say if you want to just pick up and play one, if you've got mates coming over, obviously you can do 4-player on this if you've got 4 controllers. I think this is the best one to pick up. Out of interest, the other 4 that I've got on this console are 2K15, WWE 13, WWE 12, and Legends of WrestleMania, which I think is probably the worst out of the set. And then moving on to probably my least favourite subset of the 360, and that is the Kinect. So obviously you'll be aware when the 360 launched the Kinect, that's kind of when Xbox declined as a brand, and that's kind of when they lost a lot of their market share. You know, the start of the 360 era, initially, obviously, the Xbox competed with the PS2. It did really well. It didn't take out. The PS2 was the best-selling console of all time, so the 360 was the Xbox was nowhere near as good as the PS2. So obviously, the original Xbox, launched alongside the PS2, and for a first console, for Xbox's first console, it did really well. The PS2 was the best-selling console of all time, mainly because it was a DVD player as well as the PS2, but we won't go into that today. The Xbox did really well. And then the 360, when that launched, Xbox rivaled. They brought the PS2 from selling 180 million copies down to the PS3 selling 70 million. And that was because the 360 was so popular. It massively ate into Sony's kind of market share. It was so good. And instead of building on that and making it better, they brought out Kinect. And they focused all their energy on making the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One into more of a family entertainment system rather than a video games console, which is what Sony kept doing. And Sony went back with the PS4. They just concentrated on video games, making really good video games, came out with things like The Last of Us and God of War and Ghost of Tsushima and Uncharted and Spider-Man and Horizon Zero Dawn. And there are so many games, whereas Xbox was more focused on, you know, marketing it to the families and being like, hey, we're a family entertainment system. You can watch TV on here. You can set up your Kinect camera and you can play these games. And the Kinect, for that reason, when I was younger growing up, I actually enjoyed Kinect. I remember going out and picking a Kinect up pretty much on day one when it launched. And I was only young back then. I was in high school, probably like, I don't know, year 9 or something. And I enjoyed it. But looking back now and seeing that being one of the major reasons that the Xbox brand kind of declined and lost a lot of market share, especially in the Xbox One era, kind of leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. And, you know, I would never, ever, I've not even got a Kinect camera. I've got literally, I think I've got 8 Xbox 360 consoles sat in the corner of my room, and I don't own one Kinect camera, either for the Xbox One or the 360. So these are games that I probably will never, ever jump back in and play for various reasons, but they are Kinect Sports, which was meant to rival the Wii Sports and is nowhere near as good in my opinion. Kinect Adventures, which is the game that launched with the Kinect. And if you go into any CX in the country, they have got hundreds of these down in the bin at 50p. In the Leeds branch, they're not even on the shelf. They're literally in like a metal bin, and they're 50p a go. We've then got Kinect Disneyland Adventures, and I'm a big Disney fan, and I've not played this game. And then Kinect Heroes, which I think was meant to be like a Nintendogs kind of game, but on the 360. So yeah, Kinect games, on the shelf they go. None of them are worth anything, and none of them worth playing. But back to some better games. That's kind of all the 360 selection done. I've just got another 4 games at the end, which we'll talk through quickly. The first 2 are only here because they've got the Classics spine with the Classics artwork. The first one is Halo 3, and this is actually a sealed copy. It's still got the Xbox 360 seal on the side, never been opened. I think it means I've got 4 different copies of Halo 3 on the console, all with different artwork. And the other one, after we were just talking about UFC and not being many boxing games, Fight Night Round 4, which is a very, very good game on the 360, and I would 100% recommend picking this up if you've got friends round, if you've got a mate round and you want a quick boxing match on the 360, this one is a lot of fun. And the final two games that I've got on the 360 are actually Xbox One games, as weird as that might sound, and that is because towards the end of the 360 life cycle, when the Xbox One was launching as well, so when there was that kind of crossover period, maybe like 2 or 3 years, they started launching these versions of games which work on both consoles. So they're branded Xbox One on the side, but they're in Xbox 360 cases, and they work on both consoles. And these are both worth quite a lot of money at the moment. I think these are both like £25 games, these versions. First one is GTA 4, and this is like the complete collection, so it includes The Lost and the Damned and The Ballad of Gay Tony. And the second one is Rockstar's Bully, from the makers of Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. And these are two of the best, in my opinion, both in the top 10 Xbox 360 games that you can play. Obviously, you don't have to go out and buy this version of GTA 4. You can go out and get the regular, wherever it is here, regular version for like £4-6 at the moment. But this one is pretty cool to have, and it includes obviously the 2 expansion packs, 2 extra stories. So yeah, that is my Xbox 360 collection, part 4, and that it concludes all of the 196-ish standard games that are in these kind of boxes. However, there will be a part 5 to this video, and that will be looking at all of my collector's editions and the consoles themselves and controllers. We've got special Halo controllers dotted around the room. We've got the Halo 3 Legendary Edition, which includes the Big Master Chief helmet. And we've got various Xbox 360 console variants in the room. So yeah, stick around because part 5 will be dropping hopefully fairly soon. I won't make you wait as long for that one as what you have done for this one. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to me. And drop it a like. Also, any questions, let me know in the comments below. And let me know if you've played any of the games, if you own any of the games we've talked about today. Or any games that I've maybe missed that I've not got in the collection that I need to get for the collection and to check out on the console itself. Thanks for watching again, and happy gaming.